Hey guys, welcome to my channel. And in this video, we are going to talk about India-US trade deal. Now, in this India-US trade deal, I'm not going to talk about the usuals, the usuals that you probably already know. What I'm going to talk about is the original deal that was termed as Mission 500, and that was decided and discussed last year. Okay, and there was a lot that was supposed to be done in that deal, but after what followed after February 2025, what followed that took a completely another direction, right? And we all know what happened. And then finally, after the 13th of February 2025, 1 year after that, on February 1st, I think President Trump made the call. President Trump made the call to Prime Minister Modi and discussed all the you know things, all the trade deals and all that. Hey, let's move forward, let's do something and this and that. And then President Trump made a long uh, post on Truth Social about this, something that looked like this. I made a video on this thing too, so I'm not going to talk about all this thing like the whole 9 yards. But he said lots of things here, okay? But the goal of this video basically is that I'm going to show you the original document, and I'm going to tell you exactly what was discussed in the Mission 500 as part of India US trade deal. Okay, so stay with me till the end. It's not, I mean, see, it's not gonna be a very long video, but it will be. I would say 15-20 minutes. So please do stay with me till the end, and please do like and subscribe if you are interested in knowing about it. If you are not, then that's fine too. That's your choice. But yeah, but I would rather be, know more about something that is what's real than some random thing. Okay, lots of things are being said on the internet. Lots of things are being uh, discussed on the internet. But let's get started, and I'm going to show you exactly what the reality is about the India US trade deal. Okay, so let's get going. So, this is, as you can see, this is the original White House document. All right, now this document here. Now, if you look at it, this is written on February 30, 2025. That's when it was published. Okay. President of the United States is the Honorable Donald Trump hosted Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India for an official working visit in Washington, D.C. on this. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to go through this whole entire document. What I'm going to do is I'll post the link of this document in the description so you can look at it. Okay. What I'm going to talk about is that what President Trump here is saying in his Truth Social post, and I'm going to try to actually map that to the original document. Okay, so you know what has been discussed, what actually got ruined because of the two leaders were not in talking terms and all that. So we will not know until we really look at the original documents what this deal actually has to offer. Okay, and that is going to, we will know, we'll learn about it through the original document. Okay, so let's get going and let's get started. Now, what are the things? See, Russian oil. Then we are talking about reciprocal tariffs from 25 to 18%. Both parties agreed to it. Then after that, also the Buy American. He's saying the much higher level in addition to over $500 billion of US energy, technology, agriculture, coal, and many other products. Basically, what he's saying is he's just trying to make this whole thing look good, which is, it is a good deal if it follows through. Okay, and get things done, blah blah, all the rest of it. But these are the main things. Okay, US energy, technology, agriculture, coal, and many other products. All right. So now let's go into the original document and let's talk about it. If you're still with me, then please do like and subscribe. Your liking and subscribing helps me, and please do provide your feedback. Okay. See, my one thing before I get started, okay, one thing about my viewers is that, and I find this very challenging for myself too, that my viewers, my audience is very smart. Okay. Why? Simply because of the content that I make. And I don't make content that is, random BS here and there. And this type of content actually requires a smart audience, and that's what my audience is. And when you guys provide the feedback, that actually helps me a lot. Okay, I learned a lot from your feedback too, so please do provide the feedback, like and subscribe, and let's get going. Okay, all right. So, so let's cut to the chase right here. President Trump and Prime Minister launched a new initiative, and this is the original document. Okay, the U.S. India Compact, catalyzing opportunities for military partnership, accelerated commerce, and technology for the 21st century. That's what they called it when they discussed it in February 2025. Okay, to drive transformative changes across key pillars of cooperation. Under this initiative, they committed to a results driven agenda with initial outcomes this year to demonstrate the level of trust for a mutually beneficial friendship. So the level of trust went out of the window right away. All right. And we saw that last year, right? So now let's get into this thing here. What is discussed in the defense? So, what is discussed in the defense is this: to advance defense tiers further, the leaders announced plans to sign this year a new 10-year framework for US India major defense partnership in the 21st century. So, now I want you guys to know that India US defense partnership is still underway. Okay, our Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, he met with India's defense minister and all. So they had all this discussion, all that is already going on. Okay. Now, what exactly does this defense deal entail? So there's something here. The leaders welcome the significant integration of US origin defense items into India's inventory to date, including C-130 130G Super Hercules, C-17 Globemaster 3, P-8 I Poseidon, that is a submarine hunter, right? Aircraft, then Chinooks, then you have Black Hawks. I mean, Black Hawk's original name is MH-60R Seahawk, so that's what it is. Right there, AH-16 Apache Helos, the right here, Harpoon anti-ship missiles, the howitzer. That's the howitzer is basically your uh, large gun, the big gun they call it, right? Then MQ-9B. These are some of the hardwares. All right. Then other thing is that they announced the plans to pursue this year new procurement of co-production arrangement for Javelin, the anti-tank guided missile that's basically handheld striker infantry combat vehicle in India to rapidly meet India's defense requirements. They also expect completion of procurement of 6 additional P8I maritime, the Poseidons, basically patrol aircraft to enhance India's maritime surveillance reach in Indian Ocean region following agreements on sale terms. Now, why India is doing this? India is actually doing these deals with everyone. Why? Because India wants to ramp up its inventory. India wants to have at least the basic to mid level to advanced things in its inventory faster, right? Because if you, let's say, if you're building a submarine, for example, just from one vendor, right? Then what's going to happen? One submarine building will probably take 5-10 years, whatever. Hmm? And so from one vendor, but if you want to speed up the process, you need multiple vendors doing building submarines, right? And when you're doing that, then that's when you get, actually after 10 years you get whatever the requirement is. So that's why, right? Now 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 let's see. Recognizing the India's major defense partner with strategic trade authorization, STA1 authorization, key quad partner, that quad partner thing went out of the window. That never happened. Okay, so that thing was impacted because of the two leaders and what followed after that, right? So the leaders also called for opening negotiations this year, for that is in 2025, reciprocal defense procurement agreement to better align their procurement systems and enable the reciprocal supply of defense goods and services. Basically, US is giving BS to India about, hey, take this, take that, this is solid, that solid, whatever. They just come up with fancy names to sell it. That's all it is. But since quad went out of the window, so everything else went out of the window in point three. Okay. Now, then let's see. Right here. Uh, building an US India roadmap for defense industrial cooperation. Oops. Defense industrial cooperation, recognizing the rising importance of autonomous systems, the leaders announced a new initiative, Autonomous Systems Industry Alliance Asia or Asia, okay, to scale industry partnerships and production in the Indo-Pacific. So autonomous vehicles basically, like Tesla itself is an autonomous vehicle. I don't know what they were planning to do, but I haven't heard anything on this. The leaders welcome the new partnership between Enduril Industries and Mahindra Group on advanced autonomous technology to co-develop and co-produce state-of-the-art maritime systems and advanced AI-enabled counter unmanned aerial systems to strengthen regional security, and between L3 Harris and Bharat Electronics for co-development of active towed array systems. So these are some of the deals that are being worked. All right. Now, finally, the leaders committed to break new ground to support sustain the overseas deployment of the US and Indian militaries in the Indo-Pacific, including enhanced logistics and intelligence sharing, as well as arrangements to improve force mobility for joint humanitarian disaster relief. All this is just noise right here. It literally has no meaning. All right. Now, trade and investment. Now we come to the actual part that is something interesting. That interesting in the sense that what people have been mostly talking about, okay? And why when President Trump, right? When President Trump said $500 billion right here. So he wasn't lying, even though lots of media, the biased media nowadays, they just say that, oh, he's just exaggerating and all. No, he's not. He just actually accumulated everything in one, and he was telling you the cumulative of all that. Okay. So what exactly that is? So that part is the whole thing is part of the Mission 500. Okay. To this end, the leaders set a bold new goal for bilateral trade, Mission 500, aiming to more than double the total bilateral trade to $500 billion by 2030. That's what it is. That a goal in February 2025 was to make it $500 billion, and they took whole entire year just to sign the damn deal. And I think even deal is right not yet signed. So uh I don't know. So technically they will have barely what, 3 years to do this thing, huh? 2026, so next year 2027. Now if they start it this year, then probably they have just 4 years maybe. So I don't know how fast they're going to develop all this, only God knows. But that this is what President Trump is talking about. All right. Now, recognizing that this level of ambition would require fair trade terms, the leaders announced plans to negotiate the first tranche of mutually beneficial multi-sector bilateral trade agreement BTA by the fall of 2025. And we all know what happened. By the fall of 2025, President Trump kept on talking about tariff, and by the fall August of 2025, the whole entire deal went sour, and uh, both parties basically stopped talking about it altogether. The leaders committed to designate this, so all that has no meaning to discuss this. Basically, they were planning to discuss, that never happened. It was discussed, but I think they stopped it. That's what happened. All right. Now, leaders also, let's go up here. Let's go down here. Yeah. Leaders welcome early steps to demonstrate mutual commitment to address bilateral trade. All that is just pointless. Then what leaders committed? Finally, the leaders committed to drive opportunity for US and Indian companies to make greenfield investments in high value industries in each other's countries. In this regard, leaders welcomed ongoing investment by Indian companies worth 7.35 billion, such as those of Hindalco Novelis in finished aluminum goods at their state of the art facility in Alabama and Kentucky. So India has invested almost $8 billion just in this. JSW in steel manufacturing operations at Texas and Ohio. Epsilon Advanced Materials in the manufacturing of critical battery materials in North Carolina, and Jubilant Pharma in the manufacturing of injectables in Washington. These investment supports over 3,000 high quality jobs for local families. So this is what was going to happen. All right. Now, energy security. Now, this is where we are going. This is where the whole Russian oil thing comes into play. So what President Trump was basically thinking, or at least that's what his thought process was, that hey, let's uh, try to put pressure on India about the Russian oil. So if India will not buy Russian oil, then what, we will become the sole provider. So we can capture India's energy market. But what he doesn't realize is that that's not gonna happen. Okay, there is a lot at stake. Okay, you are asking India to ruin a relationship for your random deal while you're not thinking that what you're offering to them, right? So, and don't, I don't know, I just think that I don't have any good words to say about the level of stupidity that was involved in it, so I'm just gonna leave it alone. All right, now, so energy security. Now, what was discussed is the energy security. Leaders agreed that energy security is fundamental to economic growth, blah, 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 all that good stuff. They underscored the importance of. I'm just going for the substance, all right? To ensure energy affordability, reliability, availability of stable energy markets. There's the US and India all as leading producers and consumers. In driving the global energy landscape, leaders recommitted the US India energy security partnership, including oil, gas, and civil nuclear energy. Now, India is in this whole entire thing. In this whole entire thing, India is not interested in oil and gas from US. You have to understand this. What is India interested is in civil nuclear energy. But what US is trying to do is that President Trump is trying to be a car salesman here. You know how car salesmen are, they what they do is once you get inside the car dealership, they just they just follow you everywhere, right? And then they follow you like a leech, and then after that they just get stuck to you, and then after that they try to sell it to you, and until you just do something or get mad or something and then get out of there, right? They don't let you go. So that's what he's trying to do. So he's trying to be a car salesman in the oil and gas business. Okay, now the leaders underscores the importance of enhancing the production of hydrocarbons to ensure better global energy prices and secure affordable and reliable energy access for their same old thing. In this country, US side affirmed its firm support for India to join International Energy Agency as a full member. So pretty soon we will see that India will become part of this, the International Energy Agency. Not that it matters to India, but hey, it's better to be part of something rather than not be part of it, right? So there is that. Now, but as far as energy is concerned, India's only goal to get from US is the civil nuclear deal. Okay. Now, this part also mainly hydrocarbon sector, including natural gas, ethane, petroleum products, part of effort, blah blah, all that. So that's not something I would say. I'm not seeing that this happening. Okay, what's happening is the leaders announced their commitment to fully realize U.S. India 123 civil nuclear agreement by moving forward with plans to work together to build U.S. designed nuclear reactors in India through large scale localization and possible technology transfer. Possible technology transfer. There is no guarantee that if that's going to happen. Okay, both sides welcome the recent budget announcement by government of India to take up amendments to the Atomic Energy Act and Civil Liability of Nuclear Damage Act, meaning that if there is any problem or some damage happens in this process, then company is not going to be held liable for it. That's what basically all that says. Okay, for nuclear reactors, and further decided to establish bilateral arrangements in accordance with CLNDA that would address the issue of civil liability and facilitate the collaboration of Indian and US industry in the production and deployment of nuclear reactors. So basically India is asking US to build some nuclear reactors in India as well because of the energy requirement. The simple thing being this, so simple thing is this. Why is that? Now let me give you. Let me put this in perspective for you. Okay, little bit. So that you understand where I'm going with this. Russia is already building 12 nuclear reactors in India. Okay, and then India needs more nuclear reactors uh, from US as well. And like I said earlier, that it all these things have to be done in parallel if India wants to stay relevant in the fourth industrial revolution, because of the rise of artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and machine learning, space technology. All that requires energy. And then not to mention the civil nuclear deal, right? So the whole nuclear energy, the electricity and all that power, energy, all that for civilians, that's also required. The population, general population of India requires all that. So as India moves forward in this whole entire thing, the energy requirement is going to geometrically grow. So India has to grow the energy creation mechanisms accordingly too. And that's why Russia is also building nuclear reactors, and US is also going to build the nuclear reactors in India. So those are the things. Okay, that's what India is only gunning for as far as energy requirement is concerned. All right. Now, next is technology and innovation. Now, this is gonna be sort of interesting because all these things are already happening. So leaders announced the launch of US India Trust. What trust is acronym here? Transforming the relationship utilizing strategic technology. So whatever they want to do with this, so this is going to be mainly defense, artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum, biotech, energy and space, while encouraging the use of verified technology vendors and ensuring sensitive technologies are protected. So now you see, right, semiconductors. So India's foreign minister is going to visit, what is today's third, right? So he should be here actually by now. And he oh yeah, actually he is here because I remember seeing his picture with the Secretary of State Marco Rubio. So he did that. And here's the thing, so what he's gonna do after that, he's gonna be attending this semiconductors, or what was that, rare earth mineral ministerial conference or something, and they're going to talk about the semiconductors and all that over there. And then also the rumors are that India will be invited to Parks Silica, that a group that US has initiated, and India will be part of it too. Only interesting thing is that Taiwan is not part of that group. The Taiwan TSMC is not part of that, right? So that is pretty surprising. But uh, considering all the US claim that they're going to defend Taiwan and this and that, but no, that's not happening. We all know that, right? So this is the whole trust initiative is driving this whole entire thing. When we say that India's minister is attending the ministerial conference for rare earth and minerals and this and that, so that's what it's driving. Is driven from this. Okay, as a central pillar of trust initiative, the leaders committed to work with US and Indian private industry to put forward US India roadmap for accelerating AI infrastructure. That's what India is focusing on. As you can tell, that I mean, I don't know how many of you actually really track this news, but Altman is visiting India after he was saying that, oh, India will not do anything in AI and this and that, blah blah, all those things. He's talking lots of noise, okay, and then now he's in India. The leaders announced the launch of Indus Innovation. The leaders announced the launch of Indus Innovation, the new innovation bridge model after the successful Indus platform, US India industry. So Indus platform. So see, here's the thing. This is what US actually offers India, the services, the technology and all that. And this is where the US trade in India is in surplus. You have to understand this. India's trade to India's export to US is in surplus as in goods and services, okay, and especially in goods. But US export to India is surplus in technology and all that. Okay. So, and but still there is a $40 billion trade deficit, which is compared to China is nothing. Hmm? So when you see all this technology and all that, so US is basically offering all these things to India. All right. So it's mostly all the trust initiative and all we talked about. Let's see. for active pharmaceuticals, right? US for active pharmaceutical. As so, the leaders also committed as part of trust a build to build trusted and resilient supply chains. As India's foreign minister also says this thing over and over, resilient supply chain, including for semiconductors, critical minerals, advanced materials, and pharmaceuticals. Now, when you look into it, you notice that, right? Semiconductors, the whole entire supply chain is being reset right now. Okay, and we have seen so far what has been going on. The rare earth. Everyone is after rare earth now. It's because of the monopoly in something, right? The Chinese monopoly in rare earths. I didn't want to say it, but I guess I will just do it. As part of the effort, leaders plan to encourage public and private investment to expand Indian manufacturing capacity, including in the US, for active pharmaceutical ingredients for critical medicines. So that's what India will offer. Okay, these investments will create good jobs, diversify vital supply chains, reduce the risk of life-saving drug shortages in both United States and India. That is a good initiative. This is going to happen. Okay, so these are the things, guys. What I'm showing you, this is the official White House document that was written when the deal was discussed between the India and US. This was the deal that was agreed upon between the two countries. Okay. So now, recognizing the strategic importance of critical minerals for emerging technologies and advanced manufacturing, India and the US will accelerate collaboration in research and development and promote investment across the entire critical mineral value chain as well as through mineral security partnership. And that's the meeting and all that's going on between India and US right now. I talked about just earlier, right? The external minister of affairs, the Dr. S. Shankar is here, right? Which both United States and India are members. Both countries have committed to intensifying efforts to deepen cooperation in the exploration, beneficiation, and processing as well as recycling technologies of critical minerals. So recycling, refining, all that is going to happen. That's the whole thing. They are working to build all that ecosystem. So people who think that dollar is dead and this and that, so it's a wishful thinking. Okay, wishful thinking in the sense that there's a lot going on, guys. Okay, there's a lot going on, more than we know. So um so making one-sided things is just not a very good thing. So to this, the leaders announced the launch of Strategic Mineral Recovery Initiative. Okay, the new US India program to recover and process critical minerals including lithium, cobalt, and rare earths. You have to think about all this, that they are working on this thing, that they're going to do joint efforts to process and mine and this and that, all that extraction from up until extraction. This whole entire ecosystem is being built. And like I said earlier, that in my videos, I've said this in the past too, that this type of work will be transferred to countries like Venezuela, Argentina. Probably some of it will go to Brazil because Brazil also has lots of lithium and all too, rare earths and all. Then we have Chile is there. So all these things will be taken care of. This is how it's going to happen. And they have already signed all these agreements. Okay. So it's not so it's not like global economic reset is happening. It's the supply chain reset. Okay, so anyone who is spreading this type of rumor that, oh, global economy is under reset, world order is being reset, and this and that, mumbo jumbo. So world order is being reset. It's not being reset or anything. It's just old world order is going away. It is being replaced with the new world order. That's all. Before, uh earlier it was petrodollar, the oil based world order. Now it is oil and dollar based world order. Now it is all the technology driven, your AI, machine learning, then you have semiconductors, then you have digital settlements, digital payments, and all that. So that's the era we are living in now. Okay, now we come to this part, right? The leaders hail NASA and ISRO. ISRO is India's space research organization and all. NISA, they're going to launch this. NISAR mission is coming pretty soon. Then Indian astronaut is gonna go to International Space Station. Let's see if International Space Station, how long it lasts, because they're planning to bring it down. Okay. So that's another thing. Hopefully, dude is gonna be there before International Space Station is brought down, right? Otherwise, good luck. So the leaders committed. So in NASA and ISRO, it doesn't even need any kind of deal, to be honest, because in NASA and ISRO have been working uh, forever now, actually. So I mean, I have family members who have worked in NASA too. So uh, it's not. I mean, so it has been going on for a very long time. So that's that. Anyways. The leaders underscore the value of deepening ties between U.S. and Indian scientific research communities, announcing new partnership between U.S. National Science Foundation and Indian Anusandhan National Research Foundation. These foundations, so this is what they are doing in the science and technology. Okay. Now the key thing is multilateral cooperation. Now this gets interesting. Okay, because this is the main thing that is busted after uh, President Trump and PM Modi. Basically, they went in no talking terms. Okay. What went sour? Like Quad partnership. Quad partnership did not materialize because Prime Minister Modi looks forward to hosting President Trump in New Delhi for the Quad Leaders Summit. It was supposed to happen September last year. That never happened. Instead, Prime Minister Modi visited Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And guess what? Quad is not going to happen. So this is all gone. This whole thing is gone. Multilateral cooperation is gone. That's it's as simple as that. Okay. Now, now let's come here. Let's move up a little bit more. So right here, and again, when Prime Minister Modi and President Trump talked just yesterday, then also Prime Minister Modi invited President Trump, and President Trump said that he's looking forward to doing that. So in a couple of months, probably we will hear some announcement or something is gonna happen. All right. Now, the leaders resolved to increase cooperation, enhance diplomatic consultations, and increase tangible collaboration with partners in the Middle East. They highlighted the importance of investing in critical infrastructure and economic corridors in advancing peace and security in the region. The leaders plan to convene partners from the IMEC and I2U2. I2U2 is India, Israel, US, and UAE grouping. They have I2U2 within the next 6 months in order to announce new initiatives in 2025. This never happened. No new initiative was announced and all that. All right. So you got to understand how what are lots of important things went out of the window because those two leaders had some falling out, some sort of. Hmm? And so now, US appreciates in that nobody cares. Humanitarian assistance, net security provider. India is the net security provider in the Indian Ocean region, of course. In this context, the leaders committed to deepen bilateral dialogue and cooperation across the vast Indian Ocean region and launch the Indian Ocean Strategic Venture. Probably they may revive this thing. I'm not so sure because the way India is actually working on this thing. Uh, but let's see, only time will tell. But one thing is there for sure, the super supporting greater Indian Ocean connectivity. The leaders also welcome Meta's, that is Facebook's announcement of multi-billion-dollar multi-year investment in in an undersea cable project that will begin work this year and ultimately stretch over 50,000 kilometers to connect five continents and strengthen global digital highways in the Indian Ocean region. Global digital highways. So India is also working on this thing, the digital highways. I don't know what digital highways will do, but that's what the whole thing is. Okay, India intends to invest in maintenance, repair, and financing of undersea cables in the Indian Ocean using trusted vendors. See, the thing is, digital highways will be mainly if you are looking into the digital settlements. Okay, digital payment is okay, one thing, but when you're looking for digital settlements, then chances are that the internet net requirement and all that is will become key. So for that, you need this. Then leaders recognize the need uh, to build new plurilateral anchor partnership in the Western Indian Ocean, Middle East, Indo-Pacific to grow relations, all that good stuff. But all this went out of the window. Okay, then comes the terrorism. Now, Al Qaeda, ISIS, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba, in order to prevent heinous acts like attack, Mumbai attack, and all that good stuff. And then Tahabur Rana, they had David Headley, they haven't even extradited him yet. That's because this guy right here, he was a CIA asset. That's all it is. I made a video on this long time ago. I've made this video. I've said this again and again that US has been using Pakistan to organize terrorist attacks on India. And every time there is, it's a pattern. Like every time there is some sort of negotiation is going on between the two countries, India and US, that is, some sort of terrorist attack happens in India. Okay, and all that is done to build pressure that, hey, look, we are here with you, otherwise this is what's gonna happen, whatever, right? But nobody talks about it because lots of things are better kept under wrap. But pattern, you cannot just ignore it. A people to people cooperation. Now this is gonna get even more interesting. Okay, so the whole talk was that President Trump and Prime Minister Modi noted the importance of advancing the people to people ties between the two countries. In this context, they noted that more than 300,000 strong Indian student community contributes over 8 billion annually to the US economy and helped create a number of direct and indirect jobs. They recognize that the talent flow and movement of students, researchers, and employees has mutually benefited the countries, recognizing the importance of international academic collaboration in fostering innovation, improving learning outcomes, and development of a future ready workforce. Both leaders resolved to strengthen collaboration between the higher education institutions, basically the student visa, through efforts such as joint dual degree and twinning programs, establishing joint center of excellence, and setting up offshore campuses of premier educational institution of US in India. What they're basically saying is that instead of doing all the F1 and all that thing, just bring them here. So what Indian government is, what is the benefit of Indian government out of this? Indian government's benefit is that they want to bring all those institutions to India so that India can avoid the brain drain. That's the primary technique. Okay? So that let's say if MIT opens a campus in India, then students will just go to MIT over there and then study there. And this way, Indian government won't have to spend too much money in actually establishing a premier institute to compete with China and other countries as well in the higher education. And that's one aspect of it. So what do? Number one, you save lots of time and energy and capital in this type of R&D work through the institutions. That's number one thing. Number two, and the most important thing that was hurting India in the and has been hurting India for a very long time is the brain drain. Lots of talented folks, they just leave India after a while and they go to US and other Western countries and whatnot for better opportunity that is suited for their skills and talents. And so by bringing all these institutions back to India, or I mean not back to India, but asking them to establish the campuses and all that in India, uh, that's what they're planning to do. Okay, that's what they intend to do. And like for example, Oxford is opening its campuses in India. Then there are a few other universities that I know of. They're doing it. So, but as far as 300,000 students coming to US with F1 visa and all that thing, good luck. That's not gonna happen. So because of all those things, this whole visa thing is gonna be impacted too. Okay, so now we are almost done. Leaders committed to strengthen law enforcement cooperation to take decisive action against illegal immigration networks. Yes, this is President Trump's pet peeve right here, uh, which I agree with. This right here. Organized crime syndicates, including narco terrorists, humans, and arms traffickers, as well as other elements who threaten public and diplomatic safety and security and sovereignty and territorial integrity of both nations. So President Trump and Prime Minister Modi pledged to sustain high level engagement between our governments, industries, and academic institutions, uh, and realize their ambitions, visions in of India use partners that advances aspirations of our people. This. Okay, so all this is, see how many important things were left out because of what exactly happened, right? Now let me address the elephant in the room. Two things. Number one thing is that you saw the energy security and all in the original document, but original document, nowhere original document actually says the Russian oil. So actual deal does not actually say anything about Russian oil. It just talks about buying US oil and all that. Okay. So only problem with the Russian oil thing was the extra tariff margin, and that tariff has been removed. All right. So the 25%, then 25% was the punitive tariff. The punitive tariff of 25% has been removed. So now the total tariff overall is 18%. Okay. And since in the actual document that I showed you earlier, there is nothing says about Russian oil, Russia, not even Russia at all, right? It doesn't mention Russia at all. Uh, so the deal discussion, people, the actual bodies that are discussing this whole thing, the teams from both sides, they will simply say, hey, Russia is not there. Why are we even discussing about it? That's what they probably came up with. And President Trump basically just said that, yeah, India has agreed to not buying Russian oil and this and that. And after a couple of months, what's going to happen is that nobody will talk about India's purchase of Russian oil, and all that will be cooled down. And India is never going to stop buying Russian oil. Okay. I'm just letting you guys know. Why? If just with the oil, let's forget the relationship as such. Okay, if India stops buying, India is actually saving almost 10 to 12 billion dollars per year just because of the oil alone. I'm not talking about the other technologies and other collaborations that India and Russia do together. I'm not talking about dedicated supply chain from Vladivostok to Chennai, the corridor that brings the Russian oil. I'm not talking about the Arctic collaboration that already signed. I'm not talking about the India that India is building the 4 or 5 icebreakers for Russia. I'm not talking about all that. Just the oil deal is 10 to 12 billion dollars that India will save. Okay, because on paper, if you look at it, then it looks like that India is actually importing more and exporting less. But technically, the way India makes the money from Russian oil is by, first of all, saving the money. Second thing is by making the money, the profits, by selling the refined oil and the other products. That in itself is like almost $8 billion, so $12 billion. Now if India is importing, say, out of that, India is importing almost say $15 billion out there to Russia, and India is making $12 billion. That's almost like 27 to $30 billion out of those $65 billion trade. So $30 billion is the trade deficit technically, if you ask me. Okay. So India is not going to stop doing that because there's a lot at stake. Okay. So eventually US will have to forget about it. Okay. All that was done just to build the pressure, but that's never gonna happen. Now that's one aspect that I addressed. Okay. Second thing that I'm going to address is the agriculture part. The the concern here is that lots of folks in India and all elsewhere, they're saying, oh, um, agriculture is pain point and how India agreed to agriculture and all that. No, India did not agree to anything. India did not agree anything on its side that, hey, we are going to open our market for you for these products, that dairy and few other things are there. Uh, but what exactly India then addressed as far as agriculture is concerned? India addressed this. Something that nobody talks about is that India had actually slapped 30% tariff on pulses after President Trump basically uh, slapped tariff on India. So India did a 30% tariff on in on their pulse. So when India slapped 30% tariffs on their pulse, so the lawmakers, basically the senators from North Dakota and Montana, because they are the largest producer of the pulse, they immediately they wrote a letter to President Trump that hey, our farmers are suffering because of this. Okay, now two states, Montana and North Dakota, their farmers are suffering because of the pulse, because it's a future trade. Okay, the future trade, as in that they are all these orders are placed in advance at a fixed price. Okay, and then farmers are also suffering because China is not buying soybean anymore. So that actually is gonna hurt President Trump in the midterm. So all those things have created some serious pressure here, and that's what India has actually uh, took back. That okay, all right, we can help you with this thing, but other than that, no. So that's what the whole entire India US deal is all about. Those are the two concerns, and I just talked about both of them and how those were addressed and what exactly the original deal is. Now, for those who don't know, I will just give you the outline of what India US trade currently looks like. US total goods trade with India in 2024 was $128.9 billion. Dollars. Exports $41.5 billion. Dollars. Imports were $87.3 billion. Dollars, meaning that this is India's export to US, uh, and this is US exports to India, and this is India's export to US. Okay, US goods trade deficit with India in 22 $45.8 billion. Goods trade deficit. US is in surplus in services. Okay, so all that is there. That's the trade in nutshell between the two countries. So pain points, we already talked about agriculture and dairy. Then there were other things, digital trade and data, tariff philosophy clash, all that thing were there, right? So we discussed all that. And I showed you exactly what the whole entire document is all about. So that's it for this thing. That's it. That's a wrap for whole entire drama that we have been dealing with for far past 1 year. And as you can see, that the drama was basically for nothing. They were just creating too much noise for nothing. I read you the whole entire document. What did you learn? Did you see anything that was worth the drama? Nothing. That's the agriculture part. That's about it. All you had to do was just put that aside and move on with the thing. That's it. That's all it was. So, and they dragged this thing, then add Russia, Ukraine tariff slap, and this and that, blah blah blah. All that namambo jumbo drama was done. That's the leadership for you. Anyways, so guys, this is it. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do like and subscribe and give your feedback, comment, whatever. And I will talk to you guys in another video. Take care.